What up, 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 what's going on, America? How y'all doing out there? Listen, it's your boys. We're back. It's the Brooklyn Beard and the Ball Sports Show. Back again. It's Big Rod and my man Big Don in the building. What's going on with you, Big D? You good, sir?
Oh man, it's all good. I'm still on the high of the 49ers completely dismantling the Fins. Fins were down. There was no Fins up. Fins were down. Unfortunately, it was bittersweet because we suffered a difficult injury to our quarterback, Jimmy G.
Yeah, man.
Hopefully he recovers quickly.
Yeah, man.
He was doing excellent. But you know what? I'm very optimistic for, the outcome of our season, how everything is going to wind up, how we're going to finish the season. We have a lot to be positive. We have a positive outlook because our defense, once again, I know in a lot of big time games, you're going to want a quarterback that is, obviously more skilled. And but listen, that could be Brock Purdy could be our Tom Brady. We don't know this yet.
Well, listen. We about to get into it. We're gonna talk about the Fins being down and how great this defense is out there in the Bay. I have to say, we saw it live and direct. So listen,
Yes, sir.
and here's what we want y'all to do: live and direct. We need y'all to smash that like button, y'all.
Please.
We need y'all to subscribe to this channel. We need you to share it. Hit that notification button that says all. So every time we drop in some fire regarding the sports world, the culture, and everything related, you will be notified. All right. Listen, we appreciate that from the bottom of our hearts. So we're about to get into it. We're going to talk about all this stuff that, we're going to talk about the foot that broke around the world. D, you ready, bro?
Yes, I'm ready. Let's get into it.
Let's do it.
Well, before we get into the Week 13 recap, we need to talk about some big news, big move. Unless you have lived under a rock in the last 24 to 48 hours, Deion Sanders, coach of Jackson State University, has decided to move on to Colorado University, right? So I have several friends that have gone to HBCUs, and it really is, some people are, commending him for what he did for Jackson State, and moved on. He, just like anything else, any situation, any relationship that is built, you want to leave it better than, when you came, right? And clearly he's done that, right? He is, all eyes were, even more than I can even remember, have been on HBCUs. And a lot of that is because of Coach Prime, Deion Sanders. Then I've had conversations with people that have gone to HBCUs, and they feel like he left too soon. He kind of pretty much is, in a sense, pulling the rug from that team. Because, Deion is going to, Colorado, obviously a bigger program. They have more money. It's a Power 5 school. Those recruits that were going there specifically to go into Jackson State specifically for Deion are now going to the transfer portal. So unlike any other time, it used to be a situation where if you were in a school, if you went to a school, you couldn't just halfway in the season, I don't like the way this is happening and now I'm out. Or if you decide to leave a school, then you couldn't just go right to another school and start playing. Right. Because of NIL deals and transfer portal, now that's possible. So it gives power to the student athletes, which is a fantastic thing. Because let's be honest, these universities have been making millions and millions of dollars off of student athletes. And, their excuse or their explanation for how that wasn't shared with the students was, oh, well, you got a scholarship. and you got a meal, right? You got some books, right? But it doesn't equate. So bowl games are such I mean, for the cities that host it, for the actual schools, I mean, they make tens of millions of dollars in bowl games, and that is not really, that wealth or that money is not really brought down and shared with the student athletes. So Deion leaving, I heard some, good and bad things as far as, what their take is on it. Also, I will say this. I was watching Undisputed today, and Shannon Sharp, who I really do like. I mean, I like Shannon Sharp, and a comparison between Shannon Sharp and Stephen A. I mean, Shannon Sharp I like that show. I like the dynamic. But Shannon, since he's been on the air, I've noticed he's changing a little bit, right? So
Okay.
he's not the Shannon Sharp that people, was calling, yeah, that's Unc, because he would give sound advice. He would keep it quote unquote real. I think some of that realness is seeping out slowly but surely. But he brings up a point because Shannon Sharp went to Savannah State. And obviously he's a Hall of Fame tight end, right? So he's had a fantastic career. So Shannon Sharp was defending Deion Sanders' decision to move on, right? Which is no problem. If you want to put yourself in a better situation and you feel that moving to Colorado, which is, bottom feeder in Power 5, that was a better situation than staying in Jackson State, that's your choice. That's your prerogative to do. Right. What I didn't like about what Shannon Sharp said was Shannon Sharp was saying, because my grades wasn't good and because, I pretty much went to a HBCU by default, as opposed to it not being my first choice. Now, he could have left that out, in my opinion, because what does that say to other recruits, other people that are potentially their eyes are on HBCUs? It shouldn't be a second class form of education or experience. So my question to the audience, and then I'll give it to you, is, are we looking at HBCUs as a second class education kind of experience? Or should we be looking at it as, it's on par with anything else? Because if you're good enough, especially if we're talking about student athletes, if you're good enough, you're good enough. Eyes will be on you. People will hear about it. It doesn't matter if you're in some mountain somewhere in a cave. If you can throw the ball, or if you can shoot, you can shoot. Like, so we can't allow or think that our ability to go to the next level is totally hinged upon what school we go to. Yes, some schools get more TV time, their games are always televised. That is true. But at the same time, I think that Shannon Sharp's comments I thought was more damaging than uplifting, because you can't at one point uplift Deion for making the decision, but then saying, well, HBCUs wasn't my first choice. And he was adamant about, like, that's not my first choice. So I thought that was kind of unnecessary. What do you say?
Yeah, I saw the comments there. I was watching the show earlier myself. And one of the things that's interesting, I agree. I don't think he should have inserted that. And if he was going to do that, which he did, he probably should have put it in context. I think we got to look at the time and the construct, the culture of college football at that time, particularly obviously for Black athletes. HBCU was clearly an afterthought. It wasn't even, it might have been an afterthought to an afterthought, because it was only about going to the big schools. As you heard him also state in that show today, how even HBCU, school wanted to talk to him, and his coach was like, no, I mean, this is a top 5 athlete in the country. No, we're going to, he needs to be at a major university, and so he still took the time, obviously, to entertain him. But at that time, I think if we put it in context, okay, it would be understandable that no athlete, basketball, football in particular, because those are the 2 major sports that bring in the most money for the NCAA, was thinking about an HBCU. Okay, so we understand that times have changed now, right? Through more advancement, we become more progressive. We've sort of had to fight and kick down these walls of restrictions that alienated Black athletes, primarily to your point earlier about athletes making money. We didn't make any money, right? Everybody else made money off the athletes. You could hear Chris Webber and the Fab Five talk about their days and when they were at the height of their success and their phenomenon back in Michigan, and their jerseys are selling in the stores in the Michigan halls, and they can't even afford a sandwich to eat, right? And so things have changed now. The NIL, things of this nature, you talked about the transfer portal, all of these things now work to the advantage of the athlete. And even though there's still some things that I feel that are inhibitive still to the Black athletes in particular, but that's for another show. But I want to say this, I think when you look at that, he probably should have put that in context, okay? Because yes, it would come off and convey a message that, you know what, maybe, you know, the HBCU is not something we should look at, especially since Deion has moved on. Now, the thing is, I think what I did like what Shannon said, and I do agree with him in that sense, and I've heard others say this, Deion did what he was supposed to do, okay? Now, for how long, what the duration should have been, I don't know. What, you know, we could, that's subjective. We can argue about that. But the reality is that Deion did a lot, right, for Jackson State, gave them a blueprint, gave them a model, gave them a paradigm for them to follow, okay, to be able to garner, generate, and establish streams for their school as well. Now, of course, again, they don't have Deion there. Deion makes life a lot easier for a school to be able to get advertising and to get the other things that they need. But that may have been the thing that should have probably been discussed, right? Jackson State, and I'm not saying that this was the case, I'm not saying this was their mentality, but it feels like, hey, we got Deion, we're going to sit back and we're going to let Deion be the face, which he was, which he knew he would be, which he had no problem. And I think he upheld whatever rhetorical end of the bargain, if you will, type of agreement on his end to bring the cachet, to bring the influence, to bring all those great recruits to that school and bringing the level of visibility to HBCUs, in particular Jackson State, right? But at some point, when was this going to be a model for other, either it be other ADs, other coaches, other athletes, other programs to say, okay, while we got Deion here, let's establish something so that we can have a foundation. Let's engineer something that we can be able to bring other athletes in, or rather coaches, and be able to build up the program, because not every school is going to be able to get a Deion Sanders, right? But how do we get to the place where we need to be? We can put something together that would be, I would say, streamlined for everyone coming after. Look, Deion is a trailblazer. All he's doing is setting a path for others to follow. And I think, you could say what you want to say, but he did do a lot. And I don't know how much more they were expecting Deion to do and how long should he stay there to do what he was going to, what he already did. I think it's time for others to come in there and look, Deion is looking at this as an assignment, and I guess in his mind, he fulfilled that assignment. I do agree that it's a hurting thing to the state of Mississippi, to Jackson State, to the university, to that economy, to those kids. Yes, it is. But I don't think we should be in a position, even as I feel as Black people, where we kind of get to a place where we look at other people. And I'll make this last point, Dean, I'll toss it back, where we see people that have garnered great success and wealth, okay, such as your Deions or your Jay-Z's or anybody else of that stature in whatever genre of field that they're in. And we look back and just say, okay, now you do this, you do that, you do this. Yes, there is something put on their shoulders and there is a responsibility that they have. And I think to a large part, they do understand that. But at some point, then when do we as a community say, hey, let's be able now to take this and move it? When Martin Luther King was assassinated, when Malcolm X was assassinated, yes, the movement suffered a little bit, but at the same time, the movement did still continue to grow. And there were people that took what they said, applied their tenets, applied the things that these men left them to do, and they were able to go ahead and begin to force freedom in other aspects of life and in our society. And I think that's what our people as a whole, we got to be able to do. We got to say, hey, We see what these people are doing, set the standard. Now let's come in here and let's be able to do something and build on top of the path that somebody else has trended for us.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I think from the outside looking in, I think if you look at, like you mentioned, the blueprint, Deion has had to have taught Jackson State and other HBCUs how to fish, right?
Right.
Because
Absolutely.
that's what it all amounts to. At the end of the day, blueprint, we build. This is how, from bottom to top, this is how you can structure it. I mean, things that he's done has just been tremendous in such a short period of time, if you think about it. And you know, it's amazing. Deion has, since he has been in Jackson State, Mississippi, he has added millions to the economy.
Absolutely.
And Brett Favre has taken millions. Isn't that amazing? Brett Favre at the same time, while people are still, whoa, you left us high and dry. Brett Favre is stealing from poor people. So let's not forget that. Okay. Yes. That's the same state.
Yep.
He's stealing from poor people. Deion is empowering, teaching them how to fish, and trying to, as a whole, HBCUs, because it's just like this. Remember, golf, for example. Tiger Woods, the purse or the amount of eyes that were on golf while Tiger Woods was there, everybody benefited from it, right? Whether he won or lost, whoever won benefited. So Deion Sanders being in a HBCU, all of those schools, whether they were, you not SWAC, you SWAC, you this, you that, they all benefited because those games were televised. Recruits are now looking that way. Maybe NFL coaches or any type we're now interested in becoming consultants. Ex-NFL players were looking to become coaches at HBCUs. Sometimes their alma maters, even other schools that had vacancies. So the Deion effect is greater than him just staying at a university. Absolutely. And if it's about advancement, at the end of the day, you advance, you elevate, and then you got to keep going. We have to make sure that we establish someone behind us who is going to carry the legacy on for the next generation, because Deion is bigger than Jackson State. And what I mean by that is his impact on HBCUs, his impact on this, if anything, it allows him to elevate these young black men or players to another level, because that's what he was doing at Jackson State. Anything he ever posted, it was about elevating them, getting them to be men outside of, because everybody's not going to make it to the NFL and everybody's not going to be a Deion. Nope. So what do you bring into your community? What do you bring into society outside of that? Yes, you learn how to, all of the benefits of a team sport and self-sacrifice and all of that good stuff. But Deion is building the character in these men, which is a even greater impact than just, we are 11-0 and we went to this bowl game or not. So kudos to Deion for what he's done.
Deion, and I'll say one more thing, D, before we slide, I guess, to the next block. I was going to say this. I don't know if you saw his opening not the press conference he did, but his meeting with the actual team in Colorado.
I did.
I love the speech. I love everything he said. It was amazing to me. But I will say this about our community, and I think this is teaching us a lesson yet again. I think the problem with our culture and our community as Black people is sometimes we get caught up in idolizing too much. We gaze at these people and we applaud them and give them all of these platitudes for what they're doing. But again, to your point and to what I said, they're not getting the understanding and the insight of grabbing something from this and being able to build out of that. So we'll look at the Deion. So we'll look at the Deions and we'll look at, all of the other celebrities that are doing these things, but we idolize so much so and gaze upon them that when they decide to move on, we're hurt, we're broken, we're sad, we're just destitute and debilitated because these people left. And that's the thing I think with our people as a community, we have to learn not to gaze and just get into this trance with someone that we see is doing something that's never been done before. What Deion did with Jackson State is amazing. To be bold enough, and for Jackson State to even take a chance on him as well, was a bold thing. We applauded it. We thought it was great. We knew the visibility that was going to come with it, which it did. But then we just kept looking at it, and we just kept gazing at it, and we just fell into a trance. And this is what happened. So when Deion says, "Okay, gotta go," now we're left with nothing. And now we're hurt, and now we're angry, because instead of gazing, we should have been grazing, and we should have been putting stuff into the field so that we can get things together like the way we need to set up the next entity.
And I believe Jackson State was left in good hands. I'm sure he has a structure in place. I don't think so that is a positive thing.
I agree.
And as we know, nothing lasts forever, right?
Absolutely not.
Well, let's move on to the NFL.
Let's talk about it.
We have some interesting games that we need to talk about.
Yeah, let's talk, man. It was a good Sunday for us, was it not?
Oh, man, it was a fantastic Sunday. Not for everyone that went to the game. Those that saw last week, our Week 13 show, we had two guests. We had Kenny Sweets, and we had Corey Sally, your brother.
My brother.
And, Sweets is a Niners fan, which is fantastic. I'm a Niners fan.
Yes.
You're a Cowboys fan. And your brother is a Dolphins fan. And
yes,
so
he is. Yes.
We faced off Sunday, and there can only be one winner, right? Unfortunately. Someone has to win, someone has to lose.
That's the old
and the game started off very exciting.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what was crazy. We were at the game, and before the game started, this is a side note. Before the game started, someone almost fell 300 feet. And it was like the person fell. It was, and
crazy.
I was like, yeah. So that was the first thing.
Yeah.
Then these other two guys got into it. One was a Dolphins fan, one was a Niner fan, and they were just going crazy. And I'll tell you this: the first play of the game, Tua throws a slant to Sherfield. He catches it in stride, touchdown.
Yeah.
And so the crowd goes crazy. We're kind of quiet because we're Niner fans. Miami fans, I thought they were going crazy. Next thing you know,
they were.
Some guys 3 rows in front of us are spitting at each other, spitting in each other's face, literally. Now, we're not joking. And so I'm like, we're not going to mess up this game, guys. You guys got to chill out. We're not going to mess up this game.
Yeah,
so
that's what we said.
After security came and got those guys out of there, the game started, right?
Yep.
So Dolphins looked good for one play. It was impressive, right?
Yeah.
And then the Niners, one time for your mind. So they looked good. And then the Niners did what the Niners do. So slowly but surely, this I was told how accurate, and I think he was leading the league in accuracy. But he was only throwing 7 yards, but whatever, he was accurate. Tua was supposed to be dynamic, and he was playing dynamic until he came to Santa Clara, right? And that's where all of that dynamic play ends, right? Mm-hmm. When they come and face us. So Tua was shut down. Okay. 4 turnovers. I think it was a fumble. It was bad. Tyreek Hill, I think he had under 300 yards passing. No Waddle, right? There was
Waddle was hurt.
Not a Waddle in the building.
Yeah.
Not a Waddle in the building.
Not at all.
And Tyreek Hill had a decent output, but 17 points. This team was averaging 30, right? And then when it comes time to play, 17 points. So the score wound up being 33-17, but it really wasn't that close. It really at some point, someone will tell you that was in our.
Well, it was close. I would say it was close. The game wasn't like out of reach. It wasn't one of those scores that wasn't indicative of the blowout, if you will. But y'all did eventually pull away. I saw it as you guys made some key stops because you got a great defense, and because the defense did what it did, obviously it changed the dynamics of the game and put your team in position to really just create distance then at that point. But the game was close. So
I disagree.
10-10 for a while.
I disagree because
it was 24-17. So I mean, you can't, one play changes that, right? You got a tie game if somebody fumbles or intercepts a ball and returns it for a touchdown. Then it's a different game.
I'm basing it off of this: a team that is offensively with the receivers that they have and the tight end, and their running backs that were talking smack prior to the game, right?
Right.
They should have been able to, when they started having repeated 3 and outs, that's when the game was over, really, because I knew it was just a matter of time before they would eventually, because I mean, their run defense isn't great anyway, right? So once we started shutting them down and they were 3 and out, they would have some plays, they'd make some catches, and Tua, his accuracy was terrible.
Horrible.
Everything was going
horrible.
So the game plan, that's why I say it wasn't close. The score says one thing, right? So it was 17-24, and that could have changed, or 23, or whatever the case may be.
Right.
But I'm looking at
23.
The team, how it was, were they true to themselves, right? So the Niners, yes, I'll say this. They did break our streak of holding teams to no points in the second half. They scored 7 points. Congratulations. You played yourself. But other than that, I mean, I just didn't see the impressive Miami offense that everybody was touting. And so as a result, unfortunately for us, we won the battle, but we might have lost the war because we lost Jimmy G. And Jimmy G was, I think he would have had a phenomenal game, but unfortunately, he got sacked and his foot, he broke his foot. So they said he's done for the season. Needless to say, he's done for the season. Yep. So, and this is the other thing. This happened early on in the game. So this is why another reason it was never close. Mr. quote unquote, Mr. Irrelevant, the 199th pick comes in and plays the majority of the game. There is no way, if that team is good as they say they are, that a third string quarterback should come in and finish the game. Clearly, we are a superior team, and it was never going to be a close game. We were kind of rope-a-doping in the beginning, and then we just pulled away from them. I mean, because those turnovers and Tua, first of all, after that first slant, Tua's accuracy was really never there. And I think we had Nick Bosa had 3 sacks. By the way, he's leading the league, 14 and a half sacks, right?
Bosa's the beast.
On his way to being the defensive player of the year. See you later, Micah Parsons. But these things happen.
Man, it's okay. It's all right.
So,
who wouldn't, that's not it's Bosa. It was some other kind of web on your team, that'd be different. But yeah, Bosa's that dude. I can't take anything away from Bosa, so that's fine. Micah wouldn't mind that.
The floor is yours.
Bosa didn't win it last year, so Mike got to take the honors, and so now he'll give it to Joey. Listen, the biggest story to all of this, though, Dean, as you know, being a 49er fan, is life without Jimmy now, right? You get right back to where you guys started. There was a part in the offseason. You guys wanted to break away from Jimmy. He was like that nagging little girlfriend that you couldn't get rid of. And, that relationship, that person just keeps clinging and you're like, it's not really working. I kind of want to get away. And you're trying to give them every out possible and so forth. So finally it happens and you kind of break off. But then all of a sudden you realize the girl you really wanted is not who you thought she was. And then you end up coming back to the old girlfriend again, right? And that's kind of like what happened with, your GM there and Jimmy G. And so Jimmy G again, look, we always kind of know how the story ends with Jimmy G, right? And it's unfortunate, it's either injuries or the bad throw, the critical, crucial interception. That's pretty much been the mark of his career. It's sad to say the guy does win games, but unfortunately those two things will always be the glaring, illuminating definition of his career. You got to look at what you're going to do now, right? You got Purdy, and Purdy looked really good, right? And so now Shanahan has got to be able to figure out, who am I going to get to back this guy up? You got to think about maybe, bringing in somebody that could help, somebody that a veteran, but it's kind of hard because a lot of the veterans that are out there right now are backing up. In fact, if I could just share this with you, Big D, some of the teams, some of the guys that they were looking at actually, as far as some backups for your guys, The guy you guys just signed, this guy Josh Johnson, you had him back in 2020, in fact. And he's familiar with Shanahan's offense, so that could be something where that's a plus. Familiarity of an offense is always a good thing there, from what we know. But you got guys like Nick Mullen, who's backing up Kirk Cousins right now, C.J. Beathard, all right, who's backing up Trevor Lawrence. And you remember C.J. Beathard, of course, the plethora of deplorable quarterbacks you guys had, since Steve Young, pretty much, or even Kaepernick, I would say. He did get you guys to a Super Bowl. You don't really have anybody really that could do anything. Sudfeld was another guy there too, but he's backing up Jared Goff in Detroit. But here's a name I want to throw out, which you didn't tell me your thoughts on that. Okay, we're not talking about Baker Mayfield. I know you don't want nothing to do with Baker. So you got Sam Darnold, who's out there. If they were to the Panthers, they could actually release him if they chose to, and they could save some money there if they was able to cut. They were able to cut Darnold, but I think since they end up letting Baker go, I guess that's not going to happen now. So that's kind of down the drain. But that would have, I felt, kind of been a nice little something to put behind Purdy there. But the key is, can Purdy now? Is Purdy your guy? Can Purdy, do kind of what he did on Sunday, manage the game, make a few throws? Obviously, I think he struggled with the throws in the flat, and the throws that are on the sideline there. But I think, if he can stay somewhat in the system, and again, just let that defense do what it do, y'all might make a little noise this year in the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know if one thing we do know, Jimmy could and has the potential to take you to either an NFC Championship or a Super Bowl. And do you think Trudy can take you there, sir? That's the real question. Can he take you a little bit further than what you potentially?
I don't know who Trudy is, but Purdy, I think.
Purdy. I said Trudy. I've been calling him Trudy all day.
Yeah,
all day yesterday, I called him Trudy. Purdy. So yes. Sorry about that to the family. Go ahead, Purdy.
I will say this. As a backup, I don't want Baker Mayfield, right? I say we should roll Purdy out. He could be, like I said, he could be our Tom Brady, right? We don't know this. Obviously, they saw something in him he played 4 years at Iowa State. So he is a serviceable quarterback. He didn't look bad. And now that this is his job, right? At least until maybe they find someone else, or, he'll get first team reps. He's already familiar with the system. He'll get further ingratiated in that starting role.
Right.
And once again, the defense, if he manages, just like anything else, we don't have a top. I mean, people arguably say Jimmy G, as far as his winning percentage, is top notch. But as far as overall, people don't view Jimmy G as being an outstanding quarterback. So he's kind of mid-level, mid-tier type of quarterback. So that being said, if he manages and he depends more on the running game, short passes, I think Shanahan can package stuff enough to have him still be effective. Now, as far as a backup quarterback, if I had my choice, you're going to laugh at this. I would give me a W and I'm eating a W. Give me Jameis Winston. And I had mentioned that earlier. People are like, yeah, he's a turnover machine also. Thank you, Keith, for saying he's a turnover machine.
He is.
But when it comes time for the big games, I will say this. When we need to air it out, because we have weapons, when it comes time for us to air it out, I want someone with a strong arm, right? And I think him being benched by New Orleans, right now, for Arnold Palmer, whatever his name is, Andy Dalton.
Yeah, Andy Dalton, right.
He got benched for Andy Dalton. I think that's a humbling thing. We want a hungry Jameis Winston. If Jameis Winston, they release him, and that's what they should do. If you have no intentions of playing him, release him. We'll take him, and we'll make Jameis Winston a Super Bowl quarterback.
That's an interesting take. I mean, the thing is, obviously, I don't think they would release him. I don't know what his contract situation is like. I'm sure they would rather trade him. Right now, there's no trade, so the only way you guys are going to even get a quarterback, you got to get somebody off the wire or somebody that's already on your squad there. Your practice squad. So the thing is this. I mean, Jameson, yes, he's a turnover machine, but Jameson, at the end of the day, yes, he can throw the football, and I think he's clearly an upgrade from Purdy, right? Or Purdy. But Purdy, yeah, he's an upgrade from Purdy, but I don't know if he fits the scheme. He's not a Kyle Shanahan type of guy. I think Kyle is a guy, and this is why I think they really wanted to go with Trey Lance, and they fell in love with this kid because they see enough of him really fitting in that scheme. You know, the RPOs, he can run, he's a threat. They don't really need a quarterback that can throw per se, not like to the degree of Jameis Winston. He's got an arm. He's got a cannon. I don't think he really wants that kind of a quarterback. I think Shanahan loves the idea of running the ball, being creative with these run plays and run zones and the different things that he does, the zone blocking there with his offensive line. I don't think that's the kind of player he wants. He just wants somebody that could make the throw when possible. Jimmy couldn't make the throw. Jimmy can't run. So he was sort of limited in the whole thing of what Kyle Shanahan can do. And I don't think Jameson would fit. But in a situation like this, right, maybe he would, because you don't have a choice at this point, you know. But I like the kid. I like the Mr. Irrelevant. Take him. I think he looked good yesterday.
Yeah, clearly you don't like him because you can't say his name right. You refuse to say his name right. And now you're calling him Mr. Irrelevant. He's very, very, very relevant now, okay? He's a quarterback on a potential Super Bowl team.
I'm bad with names,
Just
America.
earlier,
I'm bad with names.
Just a couple of weeks earlier, I don't want to see them, man. That's the team I don't want to see. Now you feel we're vulnerable.
I don't mind seeing them.
Right, but Dak is still your quarterback. So let's not forget that.
The number one offense in the league, by the way, since Dak's return.
Okay,
we are
congratulations.
Okay, yes, we are averaging.
The teams that you played, how many of those teams are above? How many of those teams are above 500? The teams that you played.
Okay, we played. That's over 500. Minnesota. We played since Dak has been back.
That was your only impressive win.
Listen, we play who we play. Detroit and Chicago. But I didn't say anything about who y'all played. I mean, look, y'all are where y'all are. I mean, y'all deserve to be where y'all are. Y'all are winning games.
So I want to get you on the record. I want to get you on the record. You want to come to San Francisco, right?
Oh, I would love to come to San Francisco.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Not to just visit in the playoffs.
No, in the playoffs.
You guys want to
in the playoffs.
Because I like that. I like that. You think that we're wounded. You think that we're wounded in the army. No, we're wounded. You think that we're wounded, and now you want all that air is filling up in your lungs. That is
listen,
perfect.
I would want the smoke.
Perfect.
I think we play better on the road. That's just my opinion.
No. But you still weren't confident about it. And now that you think that we are vulnerable at the quarterback position, now you're like, I want to see the Niners. But just before that ankle snapped, you were like, I don't want to see, because we can't stop the run, D. I don't want to see the Niners. Okay, perfect.
I still don't want to see the 49ers, but if we got to see them, I'd rather see them with the kids as opposed to, to Jimmy. You know, and we know what Jimmy can do, because Jimmy could either win it or lose it. Well, he won't win it for you, but he could lose it for you, right? But, you know, I'd rather take my chances with this kid here. You know what I'm saying? And I think our pass rush, and we're doing a lot better against the run. Okay, because somebody predicted that Jonathan Taylor would have 200 yards yesterday. Okay, I think he had about 200 centimeters when it was all said and done.
Okay,
all right. But anyway, go ahead.
Let me just say this real quick about the Jonathan Taylor situation.
Yeah, you
cannot outplay or do better than if Matt Ryan throws it turns the ball over 5 times. There's nothing that you can do. They kept giving you guys a short field and allowing you guys. I don't know if he throw like 2 pick sixes, something ridiculous.
He threw 3 picks.
Yeah, but it was 5 turnovers, right? Total. Yeah. It was a couple of fumbles.
5 turnovers in total. We scored 33 points in the fourth quarter. But go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean against. Yeah. So how do you expect the running game to get traction when it first started?
The score was 19. Was the score not 21-19 at one point? They still
it was. It was. But what I'm saying is
within reach. They could
but
still run the ball.
If you're turning the ball over, right, and then of course the clock was your friend at that point. If you turn the ball over and now a team you give them a pick 6 and they score. The way that you would methodically operate your offense through the running game, because Jeff Saturday would, in my opinion, he outcoached McCarthy. McCarthy was staring up. He was staring up. He looked at that playbook / all-star menu.
He was getting turnovers. That's
he was about to order smothered covered and whatever from Waffle House, and we wind up. So
Listen,
that's fine.
listen.
That's fine. The Eagles are coming, right?
Yeah, the Eagles are coming to Dallas. They'll be in Dallas in about 3 weeks. Yeah,
Eagles
Christmas
are coming.
Eve,
So
Christmas Eve.
I want to
They'll be
see.
there.
I want to see you. I want to see how you think. When you have to deal with a running quarterback, because you know at the end of the day, Matt Ryan is a statue. So when you have to deal with a running quarterback, two really good receivers, a good running game. I want to see.
They'll have one receiver because Trayvon's going to shut down whoever he's going to trail. He's going to shut them down. The Eagles are trash, son. I'm trying to tell you.
All right. So Trayvon,
trash.
Let me explain something to you.
Trayvon shuts down every number one receiver.
Historically, shut down. When you say someone is a shutdown,
okay,
corner,
we've been through this before. Okay, you're right.
Didn't I send you a video?
Not a Deion shutdown.
Didn't I send you a video where Trayvon Dooling, who scored the first touchdown, shook him out of the frame? He shook him. They had a picture. They had a video. He shook him out completely out of the frame. That's not a shutdown.
Everybody gets beat. Everybody gets beat. But no, shutdown. But again, was it Pittman? Pittman is their man, and Trayvon got caught looking in the backfield, so that was his issue there.
So now you looking through his eyes.
Yeah,
get out of here.
Listen,
now my eyes. I
love my new defensive back eyes.
Right, exactly.
Eyes in the backfield, right?
So okay,
go ahead.
Cool.
Go ahead.
We're moving on. We moving on. All right, let's talk about Kansas City. Kansas City versus Cincinnati, right?
Yeah.
Joe Burrow 3-0 against Mahomes, and we had all picked. We just knew Kansas City was going to, revenge those losses.
Yep.
And Joe Burrow, just listen. They seem and they won without Mixon. They won with P. Ryan, the beard, and he still had a good game.
Right.
They had They had Chase back, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, Aiden Hurst did nothing. P. Ryan, and they were they just played a phenomenal game.
They did.
And
they really did.
Mahomes didn't have a bad game. But I think if they happen to see them again in the playoffs, I think Kelsey, because he's from Cincinnati,
right?
I think he's going to want some get back, because he didn't play his best game. Actually,
he didn't.
First half, he had no receptions. He had a fumble.
Yep.
So I think if they see each other again, I mean, I would like to think that Kansas City will right the ship, but it could be more of the same. Some teams just don't match up well. They might be. So a team could look great against Minnesota.
Right.
And then when you play a team in the playoffs last year, you get smoked. So these things happen. Sometimes, you guys looked really good against Minnesota, but when you guys played us last year, you got smoked. Mm-hmm. Matchups make up everything. So it's not always the personnel. It's just some teams, strength on strength or strength on weakness, and that's what it could be. So what do you say?
No, I'm gonna be honest with you. I told the fellas yesterday, I think honestly, this might be a stretch to say, but the Bengals, in my opinion, if you go with the question as far as them owning Pat Mahomes, they do. Right? I mean, Joe Burrow's 3-0. You that's not a fluke. It's not they won one game and somehow got lucky, found a way to beat a team, and that's it. They won 3 games, 3 pivotal games that mean something, games that matter, games that had a lot of optics tied to it and a lot of implications. And Joe Burrow is the Bengals is probably now, and this again sounds crazy, but that's the team to beat until otherwise, because if they were to play the Kansas City Chiefs, you would still have to somehow still think that the Bengals will win. They make this team look so normal. The Bengals make the Chiefs look so, for some reason, there's a pedestrian type feel to them all of a sudden. There's no wheeling and dealing. There's no, Mahomes, completing 80% of his passes. There's none of that. There's none of that usual stuff we get from the Kansas City Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes and those receivers and how he wheels and deals the ball all over the field. There's something there that's different. The way that they play defense, the way that they play the coverages, the way that they're able to take people out of position and make them a bit uncomfortable it's just what they do. And again, Joe Burrow is making big throws, and he's getting the ball into places, converting big third downs, and to be able to, on that last play, be able to kill that game with that drive and not give Mahomes back that ball. Listen, that's big. That's really big. That's something Josh Allen couldn't do, and clearly, Joe Burrow can't. That's the team to beat in the AFC as far as I'm concerned. I mean, now they could lose to Buffalo, they can lose to Miami, they can lose to a lot of other teams. But if Kansas City is the team that's in their way, I'm gonna tell you right now, I think Kansas City is scratching their head like, yo, what is going on? What is going on? So the comeback thing, and I need to get some get back, that's all good with the emotions and the inspiration. But schematically, you're gonna have to find a way to beat this team, because Andy Reid is getting out coached somewhere, and that's a problem if you're the Chiefs. And I love Mahomes. I think he's the best quarterback in the game, hands down. Nobody's close. Josh Allen is good. He's great, but give me Mahomes any day. And so for him not to be able to overcome this team, it says a lot about what the Bengals are.
So let me ask you this: out of the teams or the contenders in the AFC, you would put them one. Where would you rank Kansas City amongst, the Bengals, Miami, Buffalo, and where would you have them? Like, if you had to pick a team that you think is going to ultimately represent the AFC, would it be Buffalo? Would it be Bengals? Or is Kansas City now, fell off some?
No, I still think, and even though I said Cincinnati is the team to beat until proven otherwise, because of only their ability to beat Mahomes, which is in most people's minds the favorite to come out of the AFC, right? Mm-hmm. So for me, and this is, again, I don't want to sound like Stephen A. Smith with this fluid list, but what I'm saying is that you would have to technically put Cincinnati right now as number one. They're not getting any love, right? This is a team that was in the Super Bowl. Josh Allen, as great as he is, but Josh ain't been in the Super Bowl yet, right? Joe Burrow has. In his second season in the league, technically, you could still almost say it was his first full season, right? Because he got hurt in his rookie year. So this guy is you got to put him up there. Like, everybody's talking about Josh, we're talking about Patrick, and you know what I'm saying, and everyone else, and we're talking about Lamar, but this guy has taken his team to the Super Bowl. They're the number one team right now. And then you would have to go with Kansas City, Buffalo, and then Miami. Okay? Now, again, we know Kansas City is the team to beat theoretically because of Patrick Mahomes, but we can't ignore the fact that this is a team that has already beaten them 3 times in 2 years, and they possibly could beat them 4 times in 2 years. So again, I'm going with Cincinnati as the team right now. That's the team in the East. I mean, in the AFC, that I think would you got it. You can't ignore them. You can't ignore them, because they're the only team that I think they've got Kansas City's number, and that's a problem for Kansas City. They haven't figured it out yet.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I do think that I think Orchard Park would have an advantage. Now, Cincinnati does get cold, but I think anyone that would have to ultimately go to Buffalo, right? There is, like, Miami. Let's just say they had to go to Buffalo, which they're going to be going to Buffalo soon. Orchard Park. That's a far cry from Hawaii, right? Yep. So that is going to be, that's a whole nother animal. That's something that you have to now. That's like their 12th man, right? So that the elements, the cold, and all of that, that's going to be a factor. But we'll see. It's exciting because there are some really, really good teams, and everybody has strengths and weaknesses, and it's just about the matchup. Who's going to play who first? Because let's just say Cincinnati has to play Kansas City first. They might have their number. But if Kansas City has to play Buffalo, they have their number. So correct. I think it's all matchups.
It's all about matchups. I agree.
It's all about matchups.
That's a good point, D. I don't disagree with that.
Real quick, let's talk about Odell Beckham, right? Yep. Odell Beckham has, since I think last Thursday, he has gone to several teams to entertain, get wined and dined.
Yep. And the Mavericks game as we speak.
He wants people to, solicit his talents, right?
Right.
And so my question is realistically, as a Cowboys fan, because he visited with the Cowboys today.
Yep.
Realistically, what's your expectations of what Odell is going to bring to the table? He said that he wasn't going to work out for anyone. Of course, they're going to take physical. They're going to kind of kick the tires, make sure he's okay.
Right. Yeah.
Look at, what his doctors present as far as his medical and see. But overall, he's not working out. He's at the point where he doesn't have to run and sweat and run routes, right? Because he's Odell. No. And now he's a Super Bowl champ. So that gives him a little extra notch that he doesn't have to, do the extra stuff. So my question to you is, what's the expectations of Odell coming? Is he, you think he's the missing piece that will put you guys over the top? Because I saw an interview with Michael Irvin. Mm-hmm. And those nostrils were, listen, full smoke. We're a Super Bowl team with him. And without him, we're a dynasty. I was like, come on, Michael. I don't know if it's Red Bull. Listen, I don't know if it's Mountain Dew you're drinking or something else. But he was, the nostrils was full. He is.
Mike turned up. The energy.
He gets super excited.
Yeah, he does. They need to keep a full-blown beach blanket next to him, son.
He needs he needs several suits because he sweats those suits out per segment. But
like that.
Mm-hmm. The question is what's the realistic expectation of what Odell is going to do?
I think Dallas will sign him. I think some of the concern that most people have, and I've said this before already, I think the issue with me is how that money is going to be spent out.
Cap's going up. Cap's going up.
Cap's going up, but you got Diggs, you got CD, you got Parsons, you got Pollard, who you got to take care of like right now. ASAP.
You need him.
Yeah, we definitely need Pollard, as you saw last night. And so I think the thing is that you got to look at this, and I think that's the issue with Jerry, of course, who's always in the moment, and he's always, compelled to make these heartfelt decisions. You know what I'm saying? Instead of kind of thinking this thing through. Would it be great to have Odell Beckham? Yes. And I think, D, you alluded to it earlier in a couple of segments ago, to take the pressure off CD. It makes his job a lot easier. And CD has really come along nicely in the last 4 to 5 games, proving that he can be a number one, right? But it would make life so much more easier for CD Lamb if you got an Odell Beckham there, right? Just first off, his name is going to bring some attention. Then if he can make at least 2 big plays a game, and that's really what you only really sign an Odell for, right? For all intents and purposes, to make some big plays. And that's what the Rams got out of him. They got big plays, right? Those big 25-yard, 30-yard passes down the middle of the field, some nice, run out the catch moments. That's really what you're looking for when it comes to Odell Beckham. So if you're the Cowboys, that's what you want to get out of him, and it would be nice to have that. However, with that being said, if we don't get him, I'm okay with it. I actually, on the low, think James Washington, when he comes back in a couple of weeks, because he is already practicing now, I do think James is going to make a little bit of a difference. That's another weapon for Dak. I think it's going to make a little difference because, again, our tight ends with Ferguson, Hendershot, I like them. You still got Schultz, and then you got CD and then Gallup. So, look, we're not dearth of receivers. It ain't like we're not Baltimore, okay? We got players. We got receivers. But the thing is, having OBJ would certainly, obviously, help. It's just the money, the cap. I don't want to impact my guys that I got to sign who are the core. And that's what Michael Irvin is talking about. With them, we're a Super Bowl champion. Without them, we're a dynasty. Because he's saying we got guys, we got to take care of the core that we drafted. All those guys are in-house drafted guys. We got to take care of the guys we drafted because it doesn't make sense to draft these guys, build them up in the system, and then let them go. It just doesn't make sense to do that, especially on the level that these guys are playing. But to answer your question, I do think OBJ will sign. I think when it comes to Wednesday or whatever he's expected to make his decision, I think he's going to end up signing with Dallas. I do think that's going to end up being the case, because of Dak. So we'll see. I think he'll like Dak, and he's going to be meeting with Dak and him tomorrow. Tomorrow's a day where he's going to meet the brass and he'll talk to some of the key players there. I'm sure they're going to introduce CD and the rest of the crew.
Are they giving him a sleep number bed? Is he getting a sleep number? Are they I'm sure Dak and them are just doing all kind of stuff, sleep number.
Sleep number, some Campbell soup. They're going to give it to him.
Yeah.
He'll get it. Yeah, they're going to give it.
Yogurt. He's getting all
yogurt, right? He's got the yogurt commercial too. Yogurt, but D, I will say this. I'll make this quick. But it is interesting. I do think though with the Bills, because you got a Josh Allen, right? That's a quarterback you can still kind of end your career with, if you will, because he says from what I'm reading is that OBJ wants to wherever he lands, that's where he wants to be. He wants to land roots. That's why he wants a long-term deal, because he wants to plant roots in whatever city he's going to be in. So I think that's the thing. But I just don't think
I was going to ask that.
Anymore.
I was going to ask that. Is there any team that you think an outside, because just like anything else, someone could be using this kind of press, and everybody from the Cowboys want to meet with me, just to get the number up, right? He's leveraging his skills. He's leveraging the interests of these teams, contending teams, not bottom feeders. These are all teams that deem themselves Super Bowl bound. So he's getting that kind of attention, that kind of draw. Do you think there is a chance that, Kansas City out of nowhere snipes him? Or because the need is greater, most likely with Kansas City, because they don't have the Tyreek. Kadarius Toney's hamstrings are on back order in Amazon. So Juju and they're not living up to what Kansas City needs, right? And of course, Baltimore, it's a waste of time, because
Baltimore, no,
it's no interest. But I think that there are a few quarterbacks that would use him. Von Miller's out hurt, right? But Von Miller's supposed to be coming back as early as when they play the Jets next week. He said that's the push. I think he had 10 days off. He thinks he'll be able to come back. And I know OBJ and him have a relationship based on the Super Bowl they won last year.
Absolutely.
So I'm wondering, although who wants to be in cold, who wants to be in Orchard Park, but it is about winning at this point, right? And he has a home in LA, and he's a jet setter, right? So he can travel. You can live someplace and have places elsewhere, right? Because when he was in New York, you can have a house in Miami, you could travel to LA, you can be he's a player of means, a person of means. You said he's on a public flight. Why wasn't he on a PJ? But regardless, he can still travel to other places. He can be kind of a snowbird. After the season's over, I'm going to spend my time in LA. Most people go out there anyway and work with receivers there in the warm weather, Florida and LA and California. So I wouldn't be surprised.
You know what, D? I'll say this though. I think as you were saying that, it made me think about this. It's either about the beard or the ball for Odell Beckham. The beard representing, does he want to be right now in a position to build a brand, to get the money? Listen, if he wants to build a brand, he wants to get the notoriety, he wants to stay in the news, okay?
But does he want to toe the line?
Well, that's my point, right? So if he toes the line, he'll make a lot of money toeing the line. But that's the thing, right? Does he want to toe the line and make the money and be the brand that we all know OBJ also covets, right? Or does he want to win a few more Super Bowls? And I think if you want to win a few more Super Bowls, you go to Buffalo, you go to Kansas City, because you got the quarterback there. And you got Stephon Diggs, who's already a number one. Now, and then you go to Kansas City, you got Kelsey, although he's a tight end, but he's a number one. So you got guys that kind of take off.
The path is easier. The path is easier at those teams.
So it depends. Does he want to ball out and get a Super Bowl, or does he just want the beard to stay drip? You know what I'm saying? That's the thing. And
because when you have the level of success he's had, and he already has that notoriety, he can post-career, he can always make the money. He
surely can.
So it's not like a finite window of I can only make my money here because I'm gonna be gone. After my career's over, everyone's gonna forget about me.
Right?
No, he'll still very much be someone that people want to hear about, want to follow, want to know what he's doing post NFL career. So maybe if it depends. If he wants some more hardware, maybe he goes to one of the other teams and passes up on the Cowboys. But time will tell. We'll know soon. I mean,
as I'm sure you hope he does, right?
No, because
you don't want to see OBJ in the playoffs, huh?
Oh,
you don't want to see him in Dallas.
We don't want to see OBJ.
Come on, see OBJ. Huh?
Listen,
You don't want that
OBJ
smoke?
doesn't want to get those hits. He listen. We'll see. We'll see what happens. You sign him first. You sign him first, and then we'll talk.
And then we'll talk. All right.
But in
Well,
any case, hey, listen, man, it's a great show.
we did our thing again, as we always do.
Listen, please, everyone, like, share, subscribe. Facebook, YouTube, Facebook.
Yep.
That's what we need. Subscriptions. We need people to like, share, and comment. We enjoy the comments. We enjoy the feedback, good, bad, and ugly.
Right.
Listen, our takes, sometimes people say our takes are completely trash. My takes are trash. Rod is on point. Sometimes they say Rod is trash. My takes are on point.
Listen,
and that's we're fine with that. Because you know it helps us. It gets a different perspective. We get feedback from people, and you know, we're not perfect, but I think we make solid, compelling points on the side that we are on. The decision that we make. You know, he thinks the Cowboys are Super Bowl bound. I think not.
Yes, that's a fact. Go ahead.
We differ, but we're the same. Like, share, subscribe.
That's it.
Once again, we'd like to thank Infinite Audio for the music that has you moving. No waddle. This is music, but you can't waddle to it because there was no waddle on Sunday.
No waddle. Zero.
Kingdom
Shout
Creative.
out to Corey. We're praying for him.
So, shout out to Corey, man.
Yeah.
Hold him up in your prayers, man.
I am.
Corey needs it now. He needs it now. Right now, he's looking at Twitter, trying to figure out how they decided how they could not get that W. What it was that caused Tua to be so terrible. He's looking at it right now as we speak. Listen,
plane ride home he was, right.
Our production by Kingdom Creative. We could not do this without you.
Kingdom Creatives, KC.
Oh man, listen.
Out.
Kingdom Creative does some amazing stuff.
They do.
If you're interested in using our production, listen.
Yes.
Leave a comment. We'll get you the information.
That's it.
We don't need nobody in DMs, right? We don't need no DMs, right? But if it's about business, let's keep it business, right? So leave it in the comments. Infinite Audio has an amazing, what's the word I'm looking for?
Repertoire of songs and stuff. You said Infinite Audio?
Infinite Audio.
Right?
I can't think of the word, but he has catalog. Thank you. You see how we just pick it up? He has an amazing catalog of music.
Yep.
And it's not, I mean, I'll get permission first before I tell you where his music is. It's in places that you would not believe. And we have it. So, I mean, listen.
Yep, that's
like, share, subscribe.
That's it.
Once again, we thank you for joining us. Until next time, go Niners. Fins down. Peace.